This is Daniel from MIS, and now I'm going to talk about the first section of the first problem. GDP equals consumption plus investment plus government spending and next export. And because of this pandemic, all these four factors decrease. And since the shift of the aggregate demand curve depends on GDP, because all of this decrease, so this line will shift to the left as GDP decreases. Okay, as for the third question, because the only factor the government can affect is the government spending, so they can choose both fiscal policy or monetary policy. And as for fiscal policy, they can spend more money, like build houses and help people. And monetary policy, they can increase money supply in this economy, and both of them can help recover the economy. And the fourth question, there are several aspects that our government use to boost our economy, such as financial asset, employment assistance, and tax assistance. And I'll each make one example. Financial assets such as cut interest rate on home mortgage by 0.5%. And employment assistance such as worker relief loans are available. And tax assistance such as the government extend the payment deadline so people don't need to pay on time. And recently our government provided us consumer voucher, and this is one of the policies too. And as for the fifth question, our government increase our money supply in our economy. So as the supply increases, the interest rate falls. And according to the interest rate effect, because the interest rate falls, and a larger amount of investment means a larger quantity of goods and services demand. In the short run, the economy will recover.
Hello, I'm Peter from MIS department. I'm going to talk about question 2. In the part 1, I will introduce about the trade war between USA and China. The world's two largest economies have been locked in a bitter trade battle. The dispute has seen the US and China impose tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars on each other's goods. US President Donald Trump has long accused China of unfair trading practice and intellectual property theft. In China, there is a perception that America is trying to curb its rise as a global economic power. Negotiations are ongoing but have proven difficult. In January, the two sides signed a preliminary deal, but some of the thorniest issues remain unsolved. Uncertainties around the trade war have hurt business and weighed on the global economy. In the part 2, I will analyze the impact of both tariff policy and capital flow on the following macroeconomic variables of U.S. economy. So, because the foreign business increased the investment in the USA, so the money demand will shift to the right, and so the real interest rate will increase. So because we know the real interest rate will increase, so the net capital outflow will move from P to P1, and the net capital outflow will decrease. In this graph, we can see the supply will shift to the left and the demand will shift to the right. So the real exchange rate will increase. Because the import decreased, so the net export will increase, hence cause the appreciation of the dollars. In a part 3, I will analyze the short-run impacts of both tariff and capital flow on the following macroeconomic variable of China. In this graph, because the foreign business reduced the investment in China, so the money demand will shift to the left, hence cause the real interest rate to decrease. And because the real interest rate decreased, the net capital outflow will move from the P to P1. So the net capital outflow will decrease too, based on the situation I mentioned above. So the real exchange rate will decrease. So in conclusion, the real GDP will increase and the overall price will increase too, because the price value decrease and the nominal exchange rate will decrease. The part 4 question is, based on our analysis, do we agree with the belief of President Trump? Our answer is no, because for an economy as a whole, net capital outflow equals net export. According to our previous analysis, we know that the USA net capital outflow will decrease, so the net export will decrease as well.
In November 2010, Fed announces QE2 and it buys 600 billion of Treasury securities by the end of the second quarter of 2011. QE3 was announced on September 13, 2012, and Fed decided to launch a 40 billion per month open-ended bond purchasing program of agency mortgage-backed securities. In addition, the Federal Open Market Committee announced that it would likely to maintain the federal fund rate near zero, at least through 2015. Because of its open-ended nature, QE3 has earned the name of QE Infinity. And the second part is about historical example. In late November 2008, Fed buys 600 billion mortgage-backed securities by March 2009. It holds 1.75 trillion of bank debt, mortgage-backed securities, and treasury notes. This amount reached a peak of 2.1 trillion in June 2010. Further purchases were halted when economics started to improve and resumed into August 10 when Fed decided the economy wasn't growing robustly. In the QE policy, when government buys bonds from markets, it increased the money quantity in the market and those move the supply curve from M0 to M1, and the interest rate will decrease from R0 to R1, and people will be more willing to invest in the market.
My name is Xu Haowei. I would like to answer the optional question 2. For the first question, what is economics? What are 3 errors mentioned in economics? Since coming to power in late 2012, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and his government unveiled a comprehensive policy package to revive the Japanese economy from 2 decades of deflation, all while maintaining fiscal discipline. This program became known as economics. Economics is based upon 3 areas of monetary easing, fiscal stimulus, and structural reforms. The first area, monetary easing. I want to start from the model of interest rates and money quantity. With this policy, money supply increases. The supply curve moves to right, which causes the equilibrium interest rates falls, and quantity demanded for money increases. Then, with the net capital outflow model, when interest rates falls, quantity of net capital outflow will increase. Because net capital outflow is equals to net export, NCO increases, the GDP will also increase. Okay. The second arrow, fiscal stimulus. I want to start from the model of real interest rates and quantity of loanable funds. With this policy, the supply decreases because the government spending decreases, national saving, and which causes the supply curve moves to left. The real interest rate increases. With the model of net capital outflow, the real interest rate is increasing because its net capital outflow decreases, and with the model of real exchange rates and quantity of dollars, net capital outflow causes the supply curve moves to left. The real exchange rate will increase, which makes Japanese yen appreciates, and the domestic investment will increase. Then the GDP will increase. Okay. The third arrow, structural reforms. I want to start from the model of wage and quantity of labor. In general, there is usually surplus of labor, which is unemployment. With this policy, Shinsan makes the labor market more adaptable, which reduces the unemployment and promotes the Japanese economy. Okay.
I'm going to talk about the optional question 3. I will introduce Keynes and Hayek to summarize and point out their differences in their arguments. Hayek is a famous economist born in Vienna, Austria in 1999. He is well known for his numerous contributions to the field of economics and political philosophy. He is important because of his account of how changing prices communicate information. Keynes was a British economist whose ideas fundamentally changed the theory and practice of macroeconomics and the economic policy of governments. It is important because he was widely considered the founder of modern macroeconomics. Keynes thought it is essential for the government to play a significant role in curbing unemployment. For him, deficit spending was the only way to bring the economy out of depression and to a point of higher employment. But Hayek saw it differently. He criticized Keynes' belief in monetary policy that drive down interest rates through increasing money supply. Hayek contended that this strategy would increase inflation and ultimately lead to more investment, as interest rate would be artificially low.